Good afternoon, or depending on where you're joining us from, good morning or good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. This virtual info session is an Ask Us Anything info session with the Office of Admissions and Recruitment. My name is Sarah Lucan. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an Associate Director of Admissions and Recruitment for the Brown School at Washington University in St. Louis. We're really glad you're here and considering our school for your graduate studies. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping things. This webinar is being recorded, so if at any time you're unable to stay for the entirety of the session, you can leave and come back to watch the recording later. This is a webinar, so we cannot see or hear you on video, but you are able to communicate with us via the chat. And I see many folks have introduced themselves already. Please continue to do so. And if you have questions, we would prefer that you use the Q&A function. That's a different button at the bottom of your screen where you can submit questions throughout the session, and we'll do our best to get to them while we're going. We did have a ton of pre-submitted questions, so thank you to everyone who registered in advance. We're going to try to get to all of those during this session as well. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. So I've already introduced myself, but I would love if my panelists could also introduce themselves. We are joined by a great group of colleagues and current students who are just a wealth of knowledge and happy to answer your questions. So we'll start with Makia and go from there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Makia Algamdi. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the admissions and recruitment specialist here at the Brown School. And I just wanted to say welcome, everyone. I am so happy to see so many familiar names in the chat.
Hello, my name is Dominique Sanheinrich. I'm the Director of Student Financial Services. So thrilled to be talking today, hopefully answering some questions and being able to work with you in the near future.
Hello, everyone. I am Erica Jones. I use she, her pronouns. I am a student financial service assistant. I look forward to meeting and connecting with everyone and some great questions ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura. I'm in the second year of my MSW program. I'm in the Children, Youth, and Families concentration, and I'm planning to do school social work.
Hello, everybody. My name is Madeline Johansson, and I am a first-year MSW MPH dual degree student, and I am specializing in social impact leadership for social work and generalist for public health.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here and offering your time. I know Laura does have to leave us a little early, and so we're going to try to make the best use of her time and have her kind of contribute to this session before she has to log off. But before we do that, the first thing that we're going to talk through is our agenda. So the first section of this session, we'll be talking about the programs, and then getting a little more into the nuts and bolts of the application process and some of the frequently asked questions that we get around the application. Then next we'll go to life as a Brown School student, where we'll have Laura and Madeline give their insights into their experiences thus far as students at the Brown School. Then we'll talk about funding and opportunities that are available to you and resources. That conversation will be led by Dominique and Erica. And then finally, we will wrap with questions that you ask us during the live session. So we will go ahead and jump in because we've got a very full agenda with lots of questions to get to. So first, we're going to start with talking about the program, and I'm going to turn it to Makia to talk about that.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, so let's get started. We have several degree offerings at the Brown School. We have three main programs. So we have our Master of Social Work, which is our MSW. We have our Master of Public Health, which is our MPH. And then we have our Master of Social Policy, which is our MSP. So for our MSW program, we have two options to choose from. You have the full-time program and then the part-time program. The full-time program is going to be a 2-year program, typically for students who are going to be working part-time. And then for our part-time program, it's going to be a 3 or a 3.5-year program, typically for students who are working full-time. And then within the MSW program, you do have the option to pursue dual degree options, either within the Brown School or across WashU schools. So for example, if you are pursuing an MSW, you can pursue either an MSW with an MPH or an MSW with an MSP, or you can choose to pursue an MSW with other programs across our schools, such as the ones listed on our screen. And then we do have our MPH program. So that's going to be a full-time program. It's going to take about 2 years to complete. And again, you do have the options to pursue dual degree programs within the MPH. So you can pursue an MPH with an MSW or an MSP within the Brown School, or you can do an MPH with other programs across WashU, such as an MPH with an MD or JD, and more so. We have a lot listed on our screen, so I don't want to go through all of them. But if you have any questions about the dual degree options, you can definitely reach out to our office so we can talk more about which programs best fit your goals. And then we do have our MSP. So the MSP program is a special program because it's not a standalone program. So typically students who are pursuing the MSP would either pursue it as a dual degree student or a paired degree student. So if you are interested in the MSP, you can pursue it as a full-time or part-time. But the MSP, as an incoming student, you would have to apply either to the MSP MSW program or MSP MPH or MSP JD. Or again, if you have a current graduate degree, you can apply as a paired degree option. And then just to reiterate about the dual degree options, if you are interested in a dual degree, you would have to apply to 2 separate programs. So if you're applying to our MSW and our MPH, those are 2 separate applications. You're going to have 2 separate processes and then 2 separate scholarships. This also applies to our other programs across the school. So again, if you're applying, just make sure that you indicate that within your Brown School application that you're interested in the dual degree. And then we do have a few questions that I want to get answered during this session. So these are questions that were submitted up beforehand by our audience. So I'm going to go through them right now. The first question that we had is, are there options for non-degree seeking students to take classes? Are any of the UMSL's graduate level social work classes transferable? And I'm actually going to pass this over to Sarah to answer.
Sure, thanks, Nakia. So there are options for non-degree seeking students to take classes at the Brown School. That, I believe, is all conducted through the office of the registrar. And so if you're interested in taking a course at the Brown School or anywhere at Washington University, you would need to connect with the registrar's office to learn about that process. As far as transferring courses, we do accept graduate transfer credits from other graduate degree programs. UMSL, which is a local institution here in St. Louis, certainly has courses that we would accept, as do many other accredited institutions. The thing to note about transferring credits is that it needs to come from a program where you did not earn a degree. So a program that maybe you're currently in and wishing to transfer to join an existing program elsewhere, but you didn't complete the degree at that institution. So that is the caveat with transferring credits.
Thanks, Sarah. Our next question is, will I get an opportunity to work in an ongoing research, internships, RA, TA shifts? So if you are interested in doing research at the Brown School, this is something that we highly encourage you to be a part of. So we have about 20 plus different research centers that you can be a part of. And within these research centers, they will post if they are looking to hire research assistants. These are going to be part-time hourly paid positions. So just keep that in mind. But you, as an incoming student, you have the option to pursue a research position if you would like within the Brown School, but also outside of the Brown School. So especially for our dual degree students, you can work within the Brown School, but also outside of the Brown School at our several different schools at WashU. But yeah, we highly encourage you to get involved in research if you would like. And then our next question is, I'm very interested in the 3-2 MPH program, but must decide which classes to take this semester as I have one class left over to complete my degree. Is it better to have my major courses or degree courses finished by this spring semester? I'm going to pass this over to Sarah to answer.
Thanks, Nakia. So for those who are unfamiliar with the 3-2 program, that's an option that is available to current Washington University undergraduate students in the College of Arts and Sciences. And what it allows you to do is complete your bachelor degree and your master's degree at Washington University in 5 years, 3 at the undergraduate level, 2 at the graduate level with the Brown School. When it comes to completing your courses, we do ask that you have all of your major and your distribution, so your degree courses completed by the time you come to the Brown School. So and distribution courses are your general education courses that you take at Washington University. So those are the courses that you need to have completed. You will use credits in the first year of your program, whether you're doing the MPH or the MSW, to count toward some of that too. Those are kind of used as your electives. So our recommendation is to talk to your academic advisor and then connect with us too to see if there's possibility for, scheduling your course sequencing in such a way that would make you eligible for the 3-2 program.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, I do have a few more questions. So the next question is, will there be an online virtual MSW available in the near future? So I don't know what the future holds, but I do know what we currently have. So for our MSW programs, full-time and part-time, they do need to be completed in person. However, within those programs, there may be a few online courses or hybrid options. However, you do need to be here in person to complete the full-time or part-time MSW program. And then our next question is, the question that I have is, what if you work at a children's hospital and you work 10-hour shifts? Would you be able to be a full-time student? So I'm actually going to pass this on to Sarah, but also we have Laura and Madeline here who are current students, so they can also answer this question as well.
Yeah, so I think this question is helpful for anyone who's considering, starting a graduate program and they're currently working full-time. Thinking about what that would look like, because our programs, for the most part, are full-time programs, aside from the part-time option with the Master of Social Work, and then if you were to do a paired option with the MSP, it can be really challenging to do the programs as a full-time student and working full-time as well. That is because our courses are scheduled during the day. Primarily, there are some evening and weekend courses that you can take. But if you're enrolled in a full-time program, it can be a little tricky. And I'll ask Laura and Madeline to kind of weigh in on, what their experience has been like working. I know you both work part-time, so just share kind of your insights on that. And I'll start with Laura.
Yeah, so I would agree with Sarah that trying to work full-time while in the full-time program is extremely challenging. As I said, I'm now in my second year here, and in all my time, I've only known one person who tried to do this, and she really struggled. Most of us work part-time, I would say typically between 10 and 20 hours a week. My best advice here is to find something flexible. Of course, your schedule changes from semester to semester, and as Sarah said, because we have classes scheduled during the daytime, it can be really helpful to have a part-time job with the ability to kind of change your hours every few months, maybe to have the possibility to work on evenings or weekends. That's been really helpful for me as I've kind of tried to balance part-time work in school.
I would kind of agree with everything Laura said. I think on-campus jobs are really great options as well because they know that you're a student, so it really helps you to manage your hours and they understand what like your priority is, which is probably school. Also, research assistant positions, I think, are another really great option as on-campus jobs because a lot of the hours are remote. So you can do the work that you need to do on your own time without having to fit it into a specific schedule. But yeah, I don't really know of anybody that works full-time while in school. Almost every single one of my friends does have a job, a part-time job in addition to school, either on campus or working like a serving job or another job around St. Louis.
Thanks, Madeline and Laura and Sarah. So I do have a few more questions that was pre-submitted, but I see that Emmanuel asked about the duration of dual degree options. This is something I forgot to mention. So for dual degree options, depending on which program you're in, they will range from 3 years to 4 years. So again, if you're interested in any of the dual degree options, please feel free to reach out to our office and we'll talk to you one-on-one about which programs best fit your goals, and we'll talk more about timeline and duration. And so the next three questions that we had pre-submitted, what is the best way to pursue interdisciplinary work, research opportunities, i.e. MSW student interested in connecting with the medical campus? I'm going to pass this over to Laura to answer.
Yeah. So because we have these 3 different degree offerings within the Brown School, the social policy, public health, and social work, there's right here a lot of opportunity for kind of interdisciplinary work. Of course, there is also the possibility to do stuff with other campuses like the Med campus. There's always a career fair at the beginning of the year. Sometimes people who are looking for research assistance will come. That's a good way to connect with some people. That can be pretty limited though. Not everybody comes. So I would also suggest just monitoring the website for people posting, like Sarah had mentioned earlier. In addition to that, if you know of a professor who's doing work in an area they are interested in, reach out. Faculty love to connect with students, and there's no harm in sending an email trying to connect. I've even been known to just show up at somebody's office to see if they're there. And as long as they're there, they're generally very willing to make time to talk to students. So my best advice is to just reach out. Don't be scared to talk to people who are doing stuff that you want to do, because their chances are, if there's a shared passion, they'll be interested in working with you.
Thank you, Laura. Our next question is, what is the coursework in the program like? And so I'm going to pass this back to Laura and Madeline to talk more about the programs that they're in. So let's start with Laura.
So I would say I can speak most to the MSW coursework. For most of the classes that I've been in, there's kind of an emphasis on group work and essays and reading. We don't do as many exams in the social work degree as I did in some of my undergrad courses. A lot of our learning comes from reading, and in class time that translates to discussion and working in groups to kind of parse out the meaning from that and get out of it the most that we can. Madeline, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I can really only speak on the foundational level public health classes that I'm in currently, but they're definitely slightly different from the social work classes. I know for like epidemiology, we have a lot of exams, and for biostatistics, it's very like project based. Some of the other classes are more like some are essays and like lecture style, not as much discussion in the public health classes as a lot of my friends in social work have, but yeah, they're definitely more like science and math focused, and especially like the epidemiology and biostats classes compared to the social work classes.
Thanks, Madeline and Laura. So we do have one more question before we move on to the next slide. So is it easy to get accommodation within campus? And I'm going to pass this over to Sarah.
Yeah, thanks, Nakia. So we weren't sure if this question was about accommodations for disability or if it was about accommodations for living on campus. And so I'm going to answer it both ways. If you are looking for accommodations around a disability, then you can request those through the Disability Resources Office. And your professor, instructor should work closely with you to accommodate those those resources that you need. If you are asking more about accommodations when it comes to living on campus, I will say that traditionally there is not on-campus housing for graduate students. The on-campus housing is primarily for our undergraduate students. Last year, they did release a few rooms in the residence halls for graduate students to live in, but we find out about that on a year-to-year basis and don't know what that availability will be like next year. But as soon as we do, we share that information out with our incoming students. But know that for the most part, students in graduate programs live off campus, and we have a lot of housing resources available on our website for folks who are moving to St. Louis.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, and so now we're gonna move forward to the next slide.
And that is me. I may do a little jumping around because I'm just keeping my watch on the time, and I want to make sure that we are able to ask Laura as many questions as we can before she has to leave at 12:30. But before we jump into some more student-focused questions, I do want to go through some application information. So first and foremost, things to keep in mind when it comes to applying to our programs are deadlines. So we have an early review deadline coming up on December 1. If you apply by that date, and that means that you've completed your application in its entirety, we have all of your letters of recommendation, your transcripts, your video interview is complete, all pieces of the application are complete by December 1, then that means that you will receive an admission decision from us no later than February 1st, and you'll be given priority consideration for scholarship that's available. Applying early always, ensures that you are given the most robust access to available funding, but don't fear, you will still be considered for funding if you need to wait and apply by the priority review deadline, which is March 1. Those who are applying by that deadline will receive an admission decision anywhere between 6 to 10 weeks. It just depends on when you submit your application within that time frame. So anywhere between December 2nd and March 1. It could be a few weeks before you hear back from us. You will still be considered for scholarship in that time frame too. And then after March 1st, we go into rolling application review and release admission decision and funding based on availability. Keep in mind these final deadlines for international applicants. We ask that you submit your application no later than April 1st. This is really important to ensure that you get a decision back from us in a timely manner so that if you are admitted and able to join us, you can do all the next necessary steps for obtaining visa to come to the United States. For domestic applicants, July 1st is your final deadline. Some frequently asked questions that we get are, what are the benefits of applying early? And so I mentioned, getting that earlier decision. That gives you plenty of time to think about your options and any next steps you may need to take in terms of getting funding. We had a lot of questions come in about fee waivers. And so I will say for the MSW and MSP applications, there is a fee waiver request process that you can go through our office for. You do have to be eligible with a few kind of requirements. And so reach out to us individually to see if you're eligible for a fee waiver, but we do offer them. For the Master of Public Health, it's a little different because that application is housed on SOFAS. And so the SOFAS application site manages their fees themselves. And because of that, you will have to request a fee waiver from SOFAS directly. Makia touched on this, but for dual degrees, note that you do need to submit 2 separate applications in order to be considered for a dual degree. We had a question about the MPH being STEM certified. And so, yes, all of our concentrations are STEM certified, meaning that international students would be eligible for OPT after they graduate to continue to work in the United States. We always get a lot of questions about our acceptance rate. And so what we want to highlight is our holistic application review process, which does not compare you to other applicants or base your admission on a set number of seats that are available at the Brown School. Everyone is admitted based on their individual application, reviewed, I should say, on their individual application, and you're not compared to other applicants. If you are admissible to the Brown School, then you will receive an admission decision. So just know that because of our holistic review process, acceptance rate is not really calculated into that overall, how we're looking at applications. And then turnaround time, just to reiterate, if you're applying by December 1, you'll get a decision from us by February 1st and no later than. If you're applying between December 2nd and March 1, 6 to 10 weeks. I'm going to skip ahead actually a couple slides because I do want to give Laura the opportunity to talk a little bit more about her student experience before she has to log off. So I'm going to skip a few slides and then I'll go back. But Laura, if you want to just quickly touch on, why you chose the Brown School, why was it the right fit for you, what brought you here? We'd love to just hear a little more of your story.
Sure. So part of it for me was the location. I was living on the East Coast before I came here, but I have family and people close to me in this area. So that was a big part of why I was even looking at the Brown School in the first place. I knew I wanted to be somewhere closer to home, but there are a lot of schools in this area. And the Brown School ended up being my ultimate decision for a number of reasons. The biggest one was funding. Of all the schools that I was accepted to, the Brown School provided by far the biggest scholarship for me, and that played a huge role in my decision. I was also conscious of the fact that the Brown School name carries weight in the world of social work, especially since I'm planning to stay in this area. Speaking to alumni in my time since coming to the Brown School, that's definitely been confirmed. A lot of people talk about how the network of Brown School graduates are an incredibly powerful force. And that can be extremely useful when you're navigating entering a career in the field. So yeah, those were kind of the biggest things for me.
Thanks, Laura. And before you do have to log off, I guess one more question to ask you, for folks who are going to be new to St. Louis, maybe even new to the United States, because we had a question from an international student about, adapting to the culture. What's some advice that you would give to folks who are new to the area?
I love this question because, as I said, I was new to St. Louis when I came here. There's a lot going on in this city, and there's a lot of stuff that's free. So I actually followed a couple of Instagram accounts of like St. Louis people who post events that are happening all the time. And there's pretty much every weekend, especially when it's warm out, there's always something happening. Something that sticks out from my first months here was a hot air balloon festival that happens in the big park that's really close to the school. Lots of people come out to that, and it's a great way to kind of be immersed in people from the city and just like a really cool special event. Another thing that's really cool about St. Louis is our botanical gardens. They're beautiful. And every Wednesday of the summer, they have a free concert in the garden that is very well attended. So those are just a few things specifically that come to mind, but there's always a lot going on. So find a way to get plugged in to somebody from St. Louis. That could even be someone at school. The faculty love to talk about St. Louis. Most people who live here really love it. And a couple of my professors also gave me a lot of recommendations for things to do in the city. And then get out in the city as much as you can. There's a grad school organization that kind of organizes events for not just Brown School students, but law students, business students, anybody in grad school at WashU. And they also do a lot of cool events that kind of get you out into the city. So I would recommend getting plugged in with them too, if you're interested in exploring. Yeah, I'm gonna head out now, but thank you guys for letting me chat with you all a little bit, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thanks, Laura. Really appreciate your time and having you on here for the first part of the session. If you have questions specifically for Laura, feel free to reach out to brownadmissions@woostel.edu and we'll get your question to her. Hope you have a good rest of your day, Laura. Since we are still talking about student life and we got into a little bit about St. Louis, the next slide is about living in St. Louis. So I wanted to just continue that conversation and then we'll go back to talking about application requirements and your questions around that. So Madeline, I'd love to hear your perspective on living in St. Louis and also just, your experience thus far as a student in your first year at the Brown School.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed living in St. Louis so far. The city has really surprised me, kind of like what Laura was saying. There is so many free things to do here. There's like such nice people. Everybody I've met has been at the Brown School and just in St. Louis in general has been so kind. And I feel like a lot of people are like really proud to be living here in St. Louis. And again, like wanting to share all the amazing things about the city. There's tons of like outdoor things to do. Forest Park is the major park that Laura mentioned right next to campus. So that is a really awesome place to explore. There's also tons of farmers markets and yeah, like just really, really cool places to check out on the weekends. So I definitely really recommend coming and living in St. Louis. What was just being a part of the Brown School so far. I've loved being at the Brown School. I've met like so many amazing people. I didn't really know anybody moving or when I moved to St. Louis. I'm not from here. So I feel like I've already met so many people. And being in both the social work program and the public health program, I've been able to kind of get like the full Brown School experience so far, which I feel like is kind of unique. Not a ton of people have been able to have that. So that has been really awesome and just being able to experience so many different aspects of being at the Brown School.
So thanks, Madeline. And since I know my colleagues also really just love St. Louis too, I want to give y'all the opportunity to jump in here before we go back to talking more application related info. So Dominique, Erica, Makia, what are some of your favorite things about St. Louis? Or if there's one thing that you would recommend someone go see, what would it be?
Well, I am born and raised in St. Louis. So one thing I tell everybody, you have to check out the St. Louis Zoo. It's free. I think now since COVID, you have to make reservations or something, but it's still free and it is gorgeous. So take advantage of the zoo. And like they said, the Muni also has free concerts. So whatever it is you're looking for, there's always something to do in St. Louis. And we have good food here as well. So partake.
I guess I would say that the St. Louis Metro East area, we get all 4 seasons. So we're in the Midwest. And so there's a lot of beautiful changes that happen, especially around Forest Park, which is one of the largest parks, I think, in the nation. And then just being able to find a neighborhood. Once you get to a neighborhood, it's very walkable. It's all about getting to the neighborhood. So there are a variety of neighborhoods. So St. Louis City is definitely divided into neighborhoods, but they're all kind of fun and eclectic. And then I would say St. Louis in general is somewhat of a melting pot. There's quite a few different backgrounds, cultures, so a lot of experiences throughout the year, but primarily when there's good weather, there's always something to do.
So I actually moved to St. Louis during 2020. So I'm somewhat new to St. Louis, but I feel like I've been here forever. It's a very welcoming city. The things I love about St. Louis is the food. I feel like there's just such good food everywhere. I have yet to eat somewhere that was bad. That's just not possible here in St. Louis. Another thing I love is the grocery stores. So they have a lot of local grocery stores, a lot of international grocery stores as well. So those are, I go to them every weekend. So those are probably my favorite things. It all has to do with the food and like what they have. And there's also farmers markets as well, in St. Louis. So there's just so much to do, honestly. So, and I know our office loves sharing about things to do in St. Louis as well as restaurants. So yeah, feel free to reach out to our office if you want to like talk more about St. Louis and what to do in St. Louis.
Yeah, thanks, Makia, and everyone. I know we could sit here and talk about our city all day long, but we do have quite a few more questions to get through. So I'm going to backpedal a little bit and go back to our questions about the application process. We will host a session in the future about St. Louis too, so be sure to be on the lookout about that because, like I said, we love talking about the city. Okay, so let's talk about application requirements very quickly. We did host a session in October with tips on submitting a strong application, and so I highly recommend watching the recording of that session if you have not already. It's got a lot of great nuggets in there about things that we really recommend when it comes to submitting a good application. You know, all the requirements are listed here on this slide. A personal statement is required for all of our applications. An online interview is required for all of our master's level applications. And you'll also submit a comprehensive resume or CV. My tip with that is give us the long resume, submit as many pages as you need to ensure that it's comprehensive and showing us all of the experience you have. We require 2 letters of recommendation for each of our master's level applications. Your undergraduate transcripts for MSW and MSP applications, those can be unofficial transcripts. The SOFA's application for the MPH program does require that you submit official transcripts, and those will need to be submitted through your institution to SOFAs directly. So pay attention to that when you're applying to the MPH program. All students who want to be considered for scholarship from the Brown School will also need to submit a scholarship consideration form, and we're going to talk about funding here in a moment. And then there is also an English language proficiency requirement for international applicants. There are a few exemptions, and we'd be happy to share the specifics around the exemptions to you, but just know that English language proficiency, so either an IELTS, a TOEFL, or a Duolingo score is required. We do not require the GRE for any of our master's level applications or any standardized test scores for that matter. And I'm going to jump into a few pre-submitted questions. Already answered questions about, waiving the application fee and how long it will take to make an admission decision. As far as that score goes for language proficiency, we did get a specific question about scores. And so I can post in the chat or if someone can post in the chat what our specific language scores are. I don't have those readily available. I know it does need to be above a 6. So I think it's a 7 is the lowest score for IELTS, which was the specific question that was asked. There was a question about LSAT scores. And so, as I mentioned, no standardized test scores are required for the MSW, the MPH, or the MSP application. If you are applying to a dual degree program, though, and for instance, are taking the LSAT for a dual program with the JD. That is a question for the law school. And so any questions you have about the other program that you're applying to for a dual, reach out to them directly to see what their kind of requirements are around standardized test scores. And then I have a question that I kind of want to pose to Madeline, just because you did just go through this process not that long ago, applying to the school, and someone asked, what advice would you give to stand out? And what pieces of the essay are important to emphasize? So, what's your advice?
I think what I focused on most was trying to demonstrate my like passion for social work and public health and my like desire to go to the Brown School, and just what about the Brown School really stood out to me and why I thought it was the right fit for me. And then also just, yeah, I think really trying to emphasize like why you're going into social work or why you're going into public health and why this is a career choice and the next step in your career that you want to make, and how the Brown School would be the best place to get you there.
Thanks, Madeline. And I completely agree. Focusing on the why behind your decision to apply is really impactful and makes a difference in the strength of your application. Taking your time on your application, really being intentional with your personal statement, following the prompt really closely, and making sure you're answering all of the questions that we're asking in the prompt. And then, not rushing an application. I mentioned taking your time. If you are in a position where you feel you are rushing to meet a deadline, we would much rather you take your time on that application and submit it when you feel it's its strongest, instead of trying to rush to meet a deadline and submitting something that maybe isn't the best reflection of what you have to show and offer. We really want you to submit your strongest, best application. So submit it when you're ready to do that. And that's why we have multiple review deadlines for you to apply by. One more question that was submitted that I'll answer, and it was about just general eligibility for the programs. A lot of folks asked about, experience and different types of bachelor's degrees, and if there are any requirements around that. And so first, I'll share that there is no required type of bachelor's degree. You don't have a prerequisite for your bachelor's when it comes to applying to the Brown School. We have students who come from a wide variety of fields of study, and think that that's one of the things that makes our program really strong, is that we have students coming from a multitude of backgrounds. You do just need to have a bachelor's degree. That is the one requirement. And if it's from an international institution, we'll just need to see that it is equivalent to a bachelor's degree or higher in the United States. And then when it comes to experience, also there's no preferred minimum amount of experience. We want to see that you can connect the experiences that you've had to the things you want to do in social work and public health. But we do not have a set required amount of experience or type of experience that we're looking for, because again, the breadth and variety and diversity of experiences that our students bring is what really makes a strong cohort. Right. The final thing I'm going to talk about before I turn it to my colleagues, Erica and Dominique, is the video interview component. And so this is a 5-question pre-recorded interview that really helps us to get to know you off paper, and just get a clearer sense of all you hope to achieve at the Brown School and our programs. When it comes to submitting your video interview, you will get a link in the graduate admissions portal. MSW and MSP applicants, you're already in that Washington University graduate admissions portal, and so you know what that interface looks like. A personalized link will be available in your applicant checklist after you've submitted your initial application. For MPH applicants, once you've submitted your application through SOFAS, you're going to receive an email from us to create your university account, graduate admissions account, and then you'll be able to access your personalized interview link. All right, so now we're going to talk about tuition and funding, and so I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Erica and Dominique.
Okay, this is the part I'm sure everybody wants to know. How much will it cost me? So for our 23-24 academic school year, our MSW and MSP program, they mirror each other. So the tuition per year for both programs, $46,840. Then you have your student health insurance. For domestic students, is $2,500. International students, you will go through our habit, and you guys have a different health insurance price. I am not sure of the cost. That is all habit. So that is not financial aid. Every student has health and wellness fee of $716. Let me back up. I'm sorry. Student health insurance, if you have your own health insurance, you can opt out with a waiver that is, again, from habit. If you have your own health insurance, you have the option of opting out. And then our Brown School student activity fee is $100. And all of this is per year. As far as our MPH program, that is a $41,600 per year. Your student health insurance will be $2,500. Student health insurance, I need to reiterate that you pay student health insurance in the fall semester only. So that is not all year, that is one semester, and that is the fall. You also have your health and wellness fee of $716 and your student activity fee of $100. So with all of those, remind you that is per academic year. So each semester, it is half of what you see on the screen now.
Good job, Erica. And I also wanted to talk about a little bit about those funding. Can you go back one slide for me? All right. So when you look at these numbers, as a reminder, every academic year, it will increase by between $200 and $300 per program. So be reminded of that. Health insurance does go up as well as our health and wellness fee. The student health insurance will be the same for every student, international and domestic. However, international students have an additional $5 fee that will be applied to your student account. And so just be reminded that this is your tuition and fees only. And this does not include any additional funding to support your housing. So we're just talking about what you would owe the university if you were to be accepted and join us in here at the Brown School.
Okay, your scholarship consideration form. All scholarship consideration forms is submitted through admissions. We understand that when you think of money, you instantly think of financial aid, but everything starts, we are as one, but everything literally starts at admissions. So admissions and financial aid, we both talk to one another, but it does start at admissions. So then you need to complete your form, as Sarah stated earlier. All students requesting scholarship support will receive an awarded amount. Most awards are partial tuition scholarships. Partial tuition scholarships. Requesting aid does not impact your admissibility. For your MSW, MSP, the form is included in your Brown School application. And for your MPH, your form is included in the Washington University Graduate Admissions Portal. Instructions provided after submitting your application. Go to the next slide, please. And then we have the funding your degree. So we have, with that, you have scholarship opportunities. You have your scholarships from Brown School. You have external scholarships from outside organizations, federal work study. You can do fellowship opportunities. That is also within Brown School as well as Washington University as a whole. Our domestic students can apply for federal student loans. We have the 529 personal savings account that can also. We have part-time employment on and off campus, and our international students also have the opportunity of taking out private loans.
So just to follow up with that, all students are able to take out a private loan. We know that our international students specifically sometimes have more barriers. And so we encourage all students to start that scholarship search, that external funding, that sponsorship now, to really secure those funds for your upcoming program, because institutional aid will only be provided at the beginning of your program and is every student's responsibility to pay for their own tuition. So that's going to be every semester, there'll be a date where there's a due date for every due amount. We'll talk more one-on-one. So if you have any additional questions about external funding, additional funding, institutional aid, which is Brown School, feel free to contact us directly. Again, federal work study is going to be domestic students, but in place of that, there are some fellowship opportunities, part-time work on campus. We encourage students to work about 20 hours or less in order to maintain their school load. And so if there's any personal questions you have about your own finances, we are here to help you budget, kind of talk through some of your options. And for our international students, again, we know it's a little bit harder to secure that funding, so we can see what we can do to help you before you get here, before you arrive.
All about FAFSA. So what is the earliest date I can submit FAFSA? For this year, it is December 2023. We know that it's later than usual, but that is statewide. So do not hesitate. Please fill it out. Do I have to complete the FAFSA application every year? Yes. You have to complete it every single year. We understand that it may be a headache, but you have to do it every year. Do I have to accept the full amount offered by the university? Absolutely not. Once we package you, you have the opportunity to decline, decrease, or accept any amount that we've given you. So no, you do not have to accept the full amount. How do I know if I'm eligible for federal work study? It will be indicated on your award letter. And keep in mind, this is only for domestic students only. Hey, the funding steps. Go ahead. You start saving. Start saving. That's what I will tell everybody. And we understand that living expenses and everything, personal things come up, but save as much as you possibly can, especially for our international students. You're coming on foreign land, so you don't know anything about us. So just try to have you a nest egg if possible. Create you a graduate school budget. And this may be hard for some, but just roughly know what you want to, what you'll be spending, what finances will look like, all of that. It is good to sometimes write it down so you can visualize it and see it. As Dominique stated, we're here to help you. So if you want to have a meeting one-on-one with her or myself, we will help you get you a budget going. Complete your FAFSA, your 24-25 FAFSA. Again, that does not open until December. So please keep an eye out for that, but complete it if that is something that you plan on getting. As Dominique once said, start your searches now. It is good. There's nothing wrong with starting early, looking for your scholarships, putting those applications in. Start now. It won't hurt. And then understanding the difference between tuition and our cost of attendance. Our tuition, of course, is just that. That is your standardized fees for what school is. Cost of attendance, that includes the area of St. Louis that we think that may go about. Did I miss something? I think.
So let's just talk about understanding tuition versus cost of attendance really quickly. Again, tuition is going to be what you owe the university, and that's going to be at any school. That's going to be your tuition and fees. And your cost of attendance is estimated. So here in the Midwest, we estimate how much rent would be for one person, for a shared space. We have a breakdown on our website for this academic year that talks about transportation, food, books, supplies, and what we estimate that will be. And so all of our standard packages, once you have decided to come here, we will package you up to this amount. And then like Erica mentioned, you have the ability to make some adjustments as needed. And so always know that your tuition is going to be one amount and your estimated cost of attendance is going to be a separate amount. But together, that is how we come up with your financial aid package. And this will encompass any institutional or external awards you are awarded, which will decrease any loans if you choose to borrow those loans. And so we will talk again individually. This is some important information. We know that students sometimes get a little anxiety around tuition. So we want to calm the nerves, answer any questions, look at your budget, and hopefully get you here so you can enjoy your time at the Brown School.
All right, thank you so much, Erica and Dominique. I'm going to go to the next slide where you can find some resources to learn more. We do have just a few minutes left, and so in that time, I'm going to try to answer just a couple more questions that were submitted during the live session. Thank you all so much for being so actively attentive and submitting some really great questions. I know we will not be able to get to all of them. So if we have something that you really would like to have answered, reach out to us at brownadmissions@worcester.edu, and then we can direct your question to the right person. All right, and so just to continue the conversation around funding, we did have a question that was submitted by an attendee during the live session about paid practicum placements. Wondering if there's been recent discussions around the pay for placement movement that's been happening across campus, across the country, for more support for paid placements. And so what I'll share about that is that we certainly do recognize that is something that our students are very interested in. And so one thing that we are implementing this year alongside scholarship award, you may also be eligible to be awarded a practicum award. And that can be used at your discretion toward your time while you're completing practicum. There are a very limited number of agencies, very limited number of agencies that will pay students during their practicum. But most students will find that funding will come from other sources, either an award that they get at the time of admission or through other ways. Madeline, do you want to talk a little bit about just like, paid opportunities and that sort of thing, what your experience has been?
Yeah, so there definitely are very limited, like Sarah said, placements that are outwardly paid, but I do recommend just when you're applying for practicum opportunities, asking the placements that you're applying to if they have any opportunities for funding. They may not be able to provide you like an hourly wage, but some may be able to provide you with like a gas stipend if you have to drive there, or just anything else that may be able to help. And it's also just really good to like start those conversations with your practicum placement so they can maybe consider in the future being able to find funding opportunities for their students. So yeah, it definitely is harder to come by. I do know that there are some that are like willing to pay, but it's always just a great idea to ask because you never know what they're gonna say.
Thanks, Madeline. And so I know we also received a lot of questions about full funding. That is perhaps the number one question that we receive. And so earlier we talked about how tuition, or how scholarship is awarded from the Brown School. Most scholarship from the Brown School is partial tuition scholarships. That is for our master's level programs. I do know there have been a few folks interested in PhD programs. Those are fully funded, but those are limited as well because there's only a limited number of seats available in the doctoral cohorts every year. And so for those considering a master's level program, just know that the scholarship that you're awarded from the Brown School is more than likely going to be a partial tuition award, and you'll need to supplement the cost of attendance through other means. So that's external funding opportunities, federal or private loans, all of those resources that Erica and Dominique highlighted. So just keep those things in mind. Now is the right time to be looking for those external opportunities, knowing that the award you'll get from the Brown School will likely only cover part of your tuition. Look for some other ways to find funding as well. And we will do everything we can to connect you to those resources as well. We're here for you and want to help make this process as seamless as possible because we know it's a stressful time. Applying to grad school is a big deal, but we're really, really glad that you're interested in applying to the Brown School and you're interested in us for your graduate studies. We are out of time for questions, and so if we didn't get to your specific question, reach out to us at brownadmissions@wustl.edu. I want to thank Makia for managing the Q&A as best she could during the session. And then I also really want to thank Erica, Dominique, and Madeline for joining me today as panelists. Y'all provided some really great and helpful information, and I hope this was helpful to everyone watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing your applications very soon. Bye, everyone.
Take care.